A very good evening to all. So, today we are having a LinkedIn live discussion on the NIPM Kerala chapter channel on the topic Cultivating Inclusion. National Institute of Personnel Management is one of the premier all India body of professional managers engaged in the profession of personnel management, industrial relations, labor welfare, and HRD in the country. Kerala chapter was the seventh chapter of NIPM in the country. Kerala chapter, with more than 1,200 individual members and 47 institutional members on rolls, is one of the most vibrant chapters of the institute. NIPM Kerala chapter has been regularly organizing workshops and training programs as part of its human resources development endeavors. Today, we have gathered here online to discuss a very interesting topic, which is also the title of an upcoming workshop being conducted by NIPM Kerala chapter in collaboration with SHRM India, powered by our banking partner, the Federal Bank. The topic is Cultivating Inclusion. To enlighten us on this topic, we have three eminent panelists who have joined us today. Ms. Darshana Ramachandran, has more than a decade of experience in setting and scaling up diversity and inclusion practice. She has previously worked in TCS, HDFC Bank, and Vodafone Idea. Currently, she is the practice lead, POSH and Ethics Initiatives, HDFC Bank. Welcome to this session, Darshana.
Thank you, Anuradha. Looking forward.
Our next panelist is Ms. Vinita Joseph. Vinita started as an HR generalist and later served as head of talent management for various organizations such as UST Global, RR Donnelly. Currently, she is the founder and CEO of Blue Purple Consulting and is an active mentor for startups. Hearty welcome to you, Vinita.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you very much.
We also have Ms. Smita P., General Manager, HR, TCS Kochi. Smita has worked in Mahindra and Mahindra, and also and for the last 17 years, she's been with TCS Kochi. Thank you and a warm welcome to you, Smita.
Thank you, Anuradha. Thank you.
The new generation workforce is interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion because it aligns with their values, promotes a positive work environment, contributes to professional and personal growth, and is seen as an essential for the success and sustainability of organizations in a rapidly changing world. But are we as a society, as an organization, or as an individual ready for this yet? I was going through a recent McKinsey report which states that the state of diversity, the report title is The State of Diversity in Global Private Markets 2023. It says that private equity firms and institutional investors have intensified their focus on gender and ethnic diversity, but the road ahead remains long. Among various points pointed out in the report, it also says that firms with more ethnic and racial diversity at the top tend to have more diverse talent pools. What is DEI and how does it add value to the business? I think all of us listening to this discussion today are really interested to know more about the topic. So let us delve into the discussion.
Sure.
Let me start with a common question to all of you, and maybe each of you can take turns. What is the importance of DEI? Let us start with Darshana.
See,
Over to you,
the
Darshana.
very fact. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're
Yeah.
audible.
Okay. So, okay. So the very fact that we are talking this topic itself is the need for it because see, diversity is what the society is, right? Corporates is just a subset of what is there in the society. So the very fact that we have to have a practice in every organization itself is the need for it. Because see, at some point of time different segments of people got into a disadvantaged position. This can be I mean women, that's primarily for India and some Asian groups. Then in different parts of the world it's different, right? So we have ethnicity in some parts, then age related diversity. The different types of diversity issues are there in different parts. So what I am trying to say is, the very fact we all are talking about a practice of diversity being there in corporates itself defines the need for it. And why are corporates investing in it? People will not invest unless there is some numbers coming out of it, right? So wherever I have worked, we have run some analytics on DI, and we have seen positive results. And in fact, I would just stop with one number which I would quote. So we did a recent analytics on gender diversity, and the teams which have retained women especially senior women, okay, those teams have seen that these women who got retained, they stay longer than men, and they have grown into senior management positions much at a much higher pace or a faster pace than men. So what it means is, at some point women, all women go through some biological challenges, but if you are able to retain through that, okay, then their pace of growth in the organization is exponential. So that is one of the primary reasons companies are investing in this particular piece. And these women who are coming out, they have proven to be like great leaders. They have retained great teams, they have grown their teams well compared to men. So this is one of the data points which we have culled out from different departments data, as well as this is something which I have seen common across organizations where I have worked. So I'll pass it on to other panelists.
Thank you, Darshana. So you touched upon, the diversity part, and definitely talking about how women, supporting women, and helping them with the systems in place, putting the systems in place in organizations can help women to grow to the top.
Yeah.
So now moving on to you, Vinita, how would you, how would you consider what is the importance of DEI in an organization?
Okay, so I worked in corporate for a very long time, and then I left and I started my own consulting. So I work very closely at the grassroots level right now. Uh, to your question, I would expand it slightly larger than an organization, Anu. The way I look at it is, I am part of it, right? What is that I would like to experience when I am part of it? Is the question I keep asking myself, right? So DEI, the definitions would say policies, practices in an organization, equal employment, but then obviously E stands for equity, right? A lot of us do not know that it doesn't stand for equality; it stands for equity, and simply means that you have the same kind of resources made available to everyone, and all kinds of diversity we talk about. Now for me, DE&I, which is diversity, equity and inclusion, not just in the organization but everywhere for that matter, is not something which is mutually exclusive. I think if diversity is there, equity need to be there, and if equity is there, inclusion need to be there, right? So, and if inclusion is there, again, diversity will be there. So, it is not something which will work standalone. It will work together, and it works as a. I'll take a cue from what Darshana just said. It will work as an exponential component, in growth, not just people who are part of the diverse group. We always consider that the communities which are underrepresented are the ones who comes into diversity. I would also include men there, right? So it is for us to understand that all kinds of diversity, neurodiversity, physical diversity, economic diversity, gender diversity, right? We need to probably be more open to each of these. And personally, it is something which I would dream about, that we no more need to talk about this, and we don't need a panel which talks about this, right? And it's a hygiene, according to me. And if you're really not picking it up as a hygiene, be it in an organization, be it at home, be it anywhere where we interact, we will keep talking about this. The concept will slow down, it will pick up again, right? We will have different strategies in place, different certifications in place, bringing things together. But I guess it is at the essence of what we are as human that DEI exists. And I'm glad we are talking about it, but I guess sooner we kind of migrate to another level where this becomes a hygiene and really not required as a tagline for an organization to exist. I guess that's when we all really, as a collective community and collective conscious, we make a win. So that's what is DEI for me. Thank you, Anu, for the question.
Thank you, Vinita. So you were talking about, how for at the grassroots level, what are the changes that we need to make? I think it's every individual, right from the way they communicate, the way we behave. It's not just with maybe one or two genders. Multiple. We have a lot of other aspects of diversity. We also have equity, inclusion, and in fact, I think there is a lot of understanding, some kind of conscious awareness that has to happen for individuals to start appreciating DEI as a concept and or bring it into their, uh, you know, uh, I think the day-to-day working or their day-to-day practice. Now,
Absolutely.
over to you. Thank you, Vinita. Over to you, Smita. I know that I've seen that you have been in a workplace, in an organization like TCS for such a very long time, and you would have definitely seen how DEI has evolved in your workplace. So, could you please talk about your experience about DEI and how, what is your perspective on that?
Definitely. Thank you, Anuradha. So I feel, life is diverse, nature is diverse, and so now diversity is the norm now, right? So definitely, it has come across a lot of changes in the sense, like, if I'm going to talk about TCS as to how we have been looking at diversity right from the beginning. So maybe like in the early 2008s, right? So gender diversity was what we were focusing definitely mainly on. So what are the initiatives that we could do towards creating that inclusive workplace for women? What are the challenges that the women workforce were facing during those times? And then what is it that we can do to ensure that they are being brought in place with the fellow female colleagues. So there were many initiatives that we tried bringing in towards that gender equality. And then, after that, we find that the shift, or rather, from gender, we see that it's moving towards the culture, because a lot of the culture sensitization need to happen, because it's diversity is not only about gender diversity, right? It's about gender, race, ethnicity, it's about gender. I could see some voice coming in between. Yeah. So it's about gender, race, ethnicity, ethnicity, yes, then disability and all those things put together, right? So culture sensitization was something that we were, focusing mainly on. And then after that, we find that, the generation, the Gen Z and the Gen Y community started, coming into the workforce. So a lot of focus had to be given there. So I think, we see that this is something that is evolving. And right from gender, it started probably with gender, but then it has been evolving through the different segments or the different groups that we have been seeing. And as corporates, as organizations, or be it even as individuals, we need to see as to how we are able to help and cope up with the current situation, or rather the particular groups that we have, and how are we able to gel well with them, and then enable them along with the normal way of handling things. So DA for me is how well are we able to help, or rather make them give that inclusive feel that they are not being looked at differently, they're not being treated differently, but rather they are one among us. So that is the kind of feel that we probably are we probably should give to the different segments that we're talking about.
Okay, excellent points, Smita. Thank you very much. So now, I guess, Smita, you brought in a lot of aspects about what was the journey as an organization. You started off looking at diversity, then you looked at inclusivity, and you were trying to address each of these one by one. So, my next question to you would be, Darshana, Could you probably share some of your experiences? For example, now you are dealing with Posh, and I know Posh is part of women's safety. It is about talking about the safety in the workplace. Could you please touch upon a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure, sure. Thanks for that question, Anu. So I will just pull the threads from what Smita closed just now. So she was saying that you need to make people belong, right? So you need to make people included in the organization. So that's where she closed. So that's where your entire thread of safety also comes in. See, when the basic as well. So this is a new topic, and over last couple of years there is a lot of discussion on this, which is called psychological safety. So if you are not able to give psychological safety to people in your team, so this is see let me even start from the basic point. Diversity is a fact, right? It's default. Okay, each one of us are diverse in some way, each one of us are unique in some way. But when we all come in terms of like being a team, so let's say me, Smita, Anu, Vinita, when we all form a team, then we understand each one of us are different. We bring in different viewpoints, different ideas, and everything. So there might be some way or other, one person feels excluded, one person feels their views are not heard, one person doesn't even feel like sharing their views because there are different type of personality traits, right? I might be an introvert, Vinita might be an extrovert, so she will keep on sharing views, I am not sharing anything. So the very basic fact of psychological safety, it is getting hurt here. So that means let's say for a long time I'm not saying anything within my team, I'm staying silent. At some point I'll feel that anxiety and I don't feel belonged in that team, and I'm not feeling safe. So it is as minute as that, but if it goes unnoticed, that means you are losing out on an employee, right? On an employee to whom, I mean, you spend so much time in interviewing, hiring, and getting the person inducted, but you are losing them just for this reason that you didn't make that person feel belong. So this defeats the basic fact of safety. So this is what we call psychological safety. Then you come to other aspects of safety, the physical safety. So physical safety is again very important. So let's say for women, even to have a good hygienic washroom, that is a basic necessity, right? So companies are now doing gender audits to see whether the basic facts what you want for your workforce to enable and thrive, is it there or not. And if we go to factory floors, then the situation is much different, where there are, so in factory floors there might be areas where the lighting is less, or there might be many women and there are many men and there are less women. So how do you make them feel safe? And in fact, around a year back I was visiting the factory floor of a company, and there the concerns raised were like this. So if some lady want to go to washroom, she has to walk more than a kilometer to reach the washroom. So is it practical? It is not. But is it what is desired? No. So we have to change the entire design around that. So that's the fact I'm speaking about physical safety. Then we need to have a lot of CCTVs. So that is again very important, where because why I'm talking about this is because even when we come to Posh, okay, the now we are living in a digital world, right? So Posh, if you see, it's sexual harassment. So how it works, it is when a case or a complaint comes, it is all based on evidences, right? So in a digital world, how do you give evidences? While you leave a trail everywhere in WhatsApp or this thing. But let's say if you don't have anything, do you have enough CCTVs in your campus or in your company? So then that means you have somewhere to begin with your investigation. So CCTV is very important. Now coming to the final aspect of sexual harassment, which I briefly touched upon. So all of us, many are from HR. Whoever is not from HR also might know about POSH Act 2013. This came post Vishaka guidelines. So what this speaks about is any act of sexual harassment, and in a digital world, this can happen in digital media also. So somebody even making some comments or sexually colored remarks. So this all comes under the purview of sexual harassment. So why POSH is there again? To make women feel safe. And now companies are going into gender neutral POSH policy. So while POSH Act defines only for women, and the act is very biased to women, it is very important that harassment can be faced by anybody, right? Sexual harassment can be faced by anybody. So we also have something called POSH Plus, where you are bringing other groups also into the purview of POSH, but under the organization policy. So you take a disciplinary action based on the policy. So all these comes under the ambit of safety, Anu. And why safety is because safety is very important for people to feel included, belonged, and that's where it comes under the entire ambit of DI.
Thank you, Darshana. I think when you mentioned the POSH Plus and gender neutral POSH policies, I think that's something really new, some new developments that are happening.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a very important information for all the practitioners who are listening to us, the leaders who are
Right.
listening to us today. Thank you very much, Darshana.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Vinita, I was also looking at a lot of help that you are doing to entrepreneurs, and I think you're also trying to bring in the focus of DEI among entrepreneurs. So, could you please share some light on what has been your experience and anything interesting for the community, HR community here? Could you please share?
Yeah. I think you promised me not to ask difficult questions, Anu, and I guess this one turns out to be a little difficult for me because I'm really thinking, racking my brains, how do I make it appropriate for HR community, right? So, what I think, I've been in HR for a very long time, continue to do HR. I do leadership development programs. I'm a very I kind of really love to be in the entrepreneurship forum most of the times because that's liberated me, and I think a lot of people gets liberated through entrepreneurship. And another point is also what comes to my mind as I think I'm a coach, so I'm a certified coach, and I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs, women at home, and obviously. Uh, LGBTQ plus community, a lot of them who I work with, failed entrepreneurs I work with. Entrepreneurship is very interesting. And when I say DEI in entrepreneurship, like I said, for me, DEI is hygiene. It's like a horizontal, everything else is a vertical, right? It need to be built on DEI, basically. That's the way I visualize it. So, entrepreneurship, when you talk about it, I would like to define entrepreneurship as a lovely dance of emotions, right? From the beginning to a certain stage, and you go up, you come down. It's all kinds of feelings and emotions you go through. And when you really think about it, women are very, I think we are very fortunate and blessed to be very emotionally resilient, right? So, who other than women are better suited for entrepreneurship? But we hardly realize that aspect of ours. And I guess that is where I keep pushing towards, just see your style of entrepreneurship, your strength as an entrepreneur, how you discover yourself as an entrepreneur, how you fail, how you grow, right? And I guess it's a journey. When you embark, you kind of get very excited about it. Of course, it takes a lot of courage because you know that the societal norms do not change overnight, right? And some of us do work along, some of us do not, right? But it's a choice each of us make. But I guess it is important for us to understand that entrepreneurship is better suited for women, right? So I am not specifically talking about women as a gender here, but DEI, when you really look at it, a lot of startups in the ecosystem. I hear and when I converse, it's so positive to understand that they focus on DEI from the beginning, right? They like to hire more diverse workforce. Even if it is 10 people out of 10, two or three would be a woman. And I know a couple of entrepreneurs who are a trans woman and a trans man, and so well equipped and so knowledgeable and how they can bring to the forum. So I guess it is much forward, fast forward when it comes to entrepreneurship and DEI initiatives. I think, especially in Kerala and a lot of Tamil Nadu, I see that it is progressing in a faster pace, where corporates probably are still rediscovering. Maybe because it's a scale we are talking about, right? But yeah, did I answer your question? I'm not sure, but yeah, I just told you what I think. And I just want to pick
Yeah.
up what Darshana said, if I can have 30 seconds, right? The washroom thing. I just want to tell you a small incident which happened yesterday. So I was driving my car and coming into my home, and then I saw two of these ladies from Tamil Nadu, or Tamil speaking, slowly walking near my house, and I wondered what are they doing, right? So the curious mind woke up, and I asked, "What are you doing?" And then they said, "We want to go to toilet. We don't know where we want to go." And they were looking for some shady place where you can just sit and go, right? And it kind of, and there were these people who were working for the construction which is going on near my house. They come,
Oh.
from
Mm.
such, I don't know, it was very disturbing for me to see that. And then I called them home, and then I told them, you can use our washroom, going forward, whatever has happened. But it's not that it's very easy to even offer that, because there is so much of like the safety aspects which comes into your play, because we do not know who they are, first of all, right? And the second part is that, what are we doing at the grassroots level? There's so many makers of bio toilets, and a lot of these, I see
Yes.
this fancy things going on. But is it even
Mhm.
affordable for a little construction site where a house is getting built? Probably a 70, 80 lakh house which is getting built, you cannot afford a bio toilet, right? So what are we even talking about certain things here? And for me, entrepreneurship is also about solving these kind of problems. So it is not just supporting DEI, but also solving certain problems which are related to DEI, right? So if we can probably work together, get multiple dimensions and a holistic picture, I guess that's probably the way forward for us. I'm very hopeful. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
Vinita. I think that was a very touching story that you shared. Definitely, a lot of us can relate to it. Even I think when we are on travel, very often there are a lot of stretches, even from between Kerala and Karnataka or Chennai. When we travel by car, very often, sometimes, at least till some time back, we had this challenge of, even I remember when I was traveling from Trivandrum to Cochin, uh, during some time, 2010 to 2012. There were there were hotels, but there weren't good washrooms. They did not have clean washrooms, and it was always a challenge, getting down or holding on till we reach our destination. And yeah, so uh, could you also, just to continue there, when you also mentioned about the LGBTQ community, uh, could you share something? Have you heard of some kind of challenges which this community is facing, or maybe something which is could be a thought which we could give to the leaders or the community that is listening to us? Uh, how, what has been their challenges? What do they feel about being in a workplace, and what are their emotions and thoughts here?
Um, that's a very tricky question, because on one side, as much as I can talk about what they feel, I'm not a member of that community, so I can only say so much about it, right? I can only empathize and probably feel for them. But I have few friends in that community. A couple of them who are in corporates, couple of them who are doctors, couple of professionals, somebody who's come back from Germany, who's trying to do an awareness program, out of Karnataka. So it is, each one has their own story, just like all of us, right? But the common thread, what probably, I would say, one aspect is that, as much as we want to embrace them, are we doing it 100%? Is a question we need to ask ourselves, right? We still have aspects surrounding the gender diversity. We try and limit it to women mostly. We try and limit it to the color of skin. We try and limit it to the culture, right? But I guess this is one part which probably we want to embrace but we do not want to embrace. So we are there but we are not there, right? Because we have these pull from the society on one side. Why are you part of that community? Are you part of that community, right? So it is also that shame which we kind of puts into these spaces, which actually probably pulls us back tenth, maybe millions of years behind as a human, right? Human conscious. So couple of problems what they feel obviously is when they know that they have a certain identity which they would like to reveal, but yet they are forced to hide behind the known identity in the society, right? And when they take that courage to come out openly and talk about it and then probably present themselves in a completely different physical, mental, emotional space, I would urge all of us as leaders, right, and women, and who's part of this HR community, how are we embracing it within ourselves, right? On the other hand, the complication also arises because there is, it's like a chicken and egg story. There is no embracing happening. They got to move on. And how do they move on? They pick up things which they really think are not human in nature, but sometimes they also kind of stray around, right? And then we blame them for that, and they kind of blame back on us. So the mainstream never happens when it comes to this. I think there is a lot of work to be done in that space. But I see quite a few organizations very consciously working on this space, and it's amazing to see that. Like I have a friend who worked for Barclays. I know USD had one girl who used to work there. So there's a lot of these things we need to probably talk loud and probably look at them as humans, right? And not really diverse thing, but humans. They are born into this world, and I guess that's a key we need to probably search for and try and open the lock. Yeah.
Yes, a very powerful note there. Thank you, Vinita. So, Smita, I think we would now love to hear what has been your experience. I know that as part of TCS, you have worked in certain different areas of DEI. Could you share some of your experiences, maybe one or two stories or insights, which would be really helpful for the audience here?
Yeah. Right. So taking the cue from what Vinita was mentioning, so I feel like, in sectors like IT and all, DI is more glorified. There are many organized sector wherein, this is not the case, right? Even the small washrooms or restrooms are not being, gender friendly and all that. So keeping that aside, yes, talking about TCS and the kind of experiences that we have been going through. So I would say that we have been, as I mentioned initially, we have been moving from the different aspects of diversity, right from gender towards culture, as I mentioned. Then we looked at generations, the Gen Y, Gen Z, population. Then we moved towards PWD, people with disabilities. So what is it that we could do to differently able them to the differently abled people, as to how we can help them, or rather how we can also embrace them within our community. So we had this PWD hiring. So to give you an example here, we here in Kochi, we have hired few people, more than, say a good number of people who are from the PWD community. So they all are, hearing impaired, right? So, when we hired them, it was for a particular requirement. So we have a requirement and then only we go and hire, but then we ensure that, this particular set of people would fit into that particular requirement. So when we hire them, it is just not that we are hiring PWD and so some of your diversity metrics is being met. But when you are hiring them, when you are inducting them to your organization, how are you going to induct them in the right manner and give them that suitable work environment, right? You have to enable their journey in the right manner, right? So towards that, we did a lot of initiatives in the sense like ensuring that the team members, the managers are well aware of their sign language, because these people could communicate only in sign language. So we had a session specifically for the team to educate them on the different sign languages that could be used, so that so instead of these people gelling, or rather trying to accommodate themselves to the larger community, we ensured that the larger community is accommodating them. And so it was a win-win. And then, these people never felt that they were left alone. So they actually mingled well, gelled well with the team, and were able to, take things forward in the right manner. So now when we go to their workplace, we will not even know whether, they are actually, having this kind of a disability or this kind of a, differently abled reason to talk about. So this is the way in which we are trying to ensure that, we are taking care of each and every need of these particular set of people, whoever we are trying to, take. So then, moving forward from the BWD, then we were also focusing on LGBTQ. So as Vinita was mentioning, this is something this is something very personal, right? So we don't know, like, we are a 6 lakh plus employer, so we don't know like who are those people who are actually into this particular community. But all that we can do is like giving that awareness to the entire set of people, and making them understand that there is a set of people in this particular group, and how are we able to help them gel well, or rather, if at all there are any challenges, how are we able to cope up with those, or rather make them feel inclusive if at all you come across anybody. So it should not be like, they should be felt, they should feel that inclusivity within the system. And so how are we able to do that? So those kind of sensitization sessions were what we were focusing on, to ensure that this particular group is being not left alone. And after that, we started focusing on many group segments, in the sense, like, people returning, especially women associates returning after leaves. So there used to be a long gap, right? People coming back after maternity, or even after the long childcare leaves and all that. So there used to be long gaps, and people used to be left, left out. They used to feel that left out feel, because people who have been with them when they went might have moved well in their career, and they are now coming back and they're just left alone. They don't know what's happening, where they are, and what is it that they can look forward, and all that. So we have specific groups for them. So we ensure that they are being made, they are being given all those information about the various policies, processes that has changed or happened during those period where they were not there. And there are many roles and other prospects that are being told to them, so that they are actually handholded in a better manner. And they also get to speak to other fellow colleagues who have been who are in that particular category, in the sense of just come back. So it is a good forum for them to interact, and then talk, and then take their career forward. So there are many initiatives that we are trying to come up with, or we already have, towards all these areas. But then I would say that yes, we also need to mature a long way, but we're trying our baby steps in all these areas, in all these focus areas, so that all these particular groups are being looked at, and being catered to.
Yes, thank you, Smita. Thank you. You've really touched upon a lot of wonderful stories. Very good to hear the kind of initiatives that you took. So I think it all now, after all the discussion, definitely boils down to the kind of awareness, the sensitivity that we need to bring into the employees or all the members in the organization, starting with these small steps. And I think that was really a wonderful step, making all your employees, or at least the people who are working with the differently abled community, to equip them with some elements of sign language. And I am right now, I have been very fortunate to have had an opportunity to work with some of the differently able students. I'm working with some organization on that. And I really understand it's a very unique experience for us, something very new. Initially, I was finding it, I was wondering what I was doing among them. How would I be able to do justice to what I've been assigned, the kind of tasks? But yes, I think with some time, given some, when we are given time to deal with them, and we are all given awareness at both ends, I'm sure it's going to be a very normal thing just within a few days. So wonderful to hear from you regarding the initiatives that you have taken. So now I again come back to Darshana. Darshana, could you touch upon some of the yeah, sorry, there is an announcement before that. To all the viewers who are watching this live, we request you to please put in your questions on the chat so that the panelists can take it. Okay, so before I come back to you, Darshana, I think there is a question. Jitin asks, can you share some metrics that help to measure the effectiveness of DEIB initiatives or something that you've already applied within your organization? Uh, I leave it to the panelists. Any of you could volunteer to answer that. Darshana, would you like to start?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, okay. So DI metrics, see, it can be measured in all the three pillars, right? So diversity is what every company starts with. That is the basic one. Okay. So they look at the gender diversity, then generational diversity, then ethnic diversity, cultural diversity. So all these type of, it's just demographic data. That's where they start with. But then at some point of time, after 2 3 years of maturing into that, they realize that this will not work. Only focusing on diversity will not work, because that is something that comes along. That's more like a default thing that comes along. And and then they will figure out that at some point, so let's see a gender diversity pipeline, right? So it tapers on top. Okay, so then they figure out, once they start measuring the diversity, they figure out that it's tapering at the top. So then the actual reason of that comes out. So as Vinita was saying, equity is one of the point that will come out. And as Smita rightly said in the first part, inclusion will come out. So they will start measuring around all of this. So equity is all about fairness. So how do we ensure fair opportunities for everyone? How do we ensure fair access to programs? So if there are learning programs, is there only a particular segment of people churning into that? Are they the only ones going into that? Or is it fair across? Okay, so that's something they look. Then across, even attrition, we look. Is there a huge gap between male and female attrition, or is there a huge gap between, let's say, Gen Y attrition versus your Gen X or a baby boomer attrition? So all of this will give a lot of insights. And then we also look at the inclusion aspect. So do actually people feel belonged? So this again will give you some signs. So for example, the companies do pulse surveys, employee experience surveys. So this will give some signs about inclusion aspect. So when people give views that, okay, no, we don't feel belonged in a particular team or in a particular department, yes, that's a red signal that companies need to work upon. So these are my two bits, and I open it up for other panelists in case they want to.
So here we also have a diversity maturity model to talk about. So it's just in the beginning initial stage. So where we try and assess the different business groups based on the different parameters that we have. Basically, it is some of the important areas that we look at are maybe a diversity and inclusion council within that group, where with how effective is that group. And then we are also looking at giving certain targets to the business groups as far as the different areas are concerned. We call it as GRILDAP. It is the gender, race, ethnicity, your disability, LGBTQ, age, and age. Yes. So all these aspects are being looked at, and we see as to how what is the representation that a particular business group has on these particular areas. And then we also look at, as Darshana mentioned, many of those areas like the attrition. Okay, so what is the attrition in women attrition in this particular group, and what is the kind of promotion prospects that women are being given in this particular group, and what is the ratio of women in the senior and the middle categories. So all those things are certain metrics that we are, trying to look at. So because as I said, we work as a business group. There are so many business groups within our organization. So each business group has its own respective areas, or rather, its own respective KRAs, or rather, they look at their specific areas, right? So we see as to how each and every business group is, faring in these particular areas, and we assign a score as to what is their DH score as far as that particular business group is concerned after looking into all these aspects. We also see as to how our customers are faring in this particular area. So that is one important aspect which I would want to bring in, because at TCS we partner with our customers, allies of diversity. So the allies of diversity are being taken even from our customers also. So we have those interactive sessions with the C-suite employees of our customers also, by trying to understand as to what are the best practices that are there with the customers, and we also share our best practices, and we try and learn. It's basically a learning session even for us and for them as well. So because they are investing on our employees, and we are giving the services to them, right? So it's a give and take for us also. So those are some of the initiatives that we are doing, which is actually helping us. And if I may say that, if I may add, so this is actually helping us, in giving that, reach, or rather that appreciation, that recognition from our customer base also. And it is basically helping us in winning more deals also, because these days this is a major criteria. As I said, it's more glorified in IT field, right? So this is something which is being looked at as to how well is the DEI metric, or rather how well is DEI being taken in this particular organization vis-a-vis a different one. So this definitely will give you an edge compared to the different other companies that are there. So that would be my take on this particular thing.
Thank you, Smita. So I think there you have touched upon a very important aspect regarding the customers, how customers feel about DEI, and what is the why. And I think that was another question which had come up in our one of our groups as to what is the customer, what is the benefit, or what is it that organizations see as a business benefit out of implementing DEI. So would you also like to add something on that, Darshana, regarding the what is the customer value or business benefit? Any additional aspects?
See, as Smita was mentioning now, this is leave alone customers. I mean, every and every stakeholder at every level. So let's say if we are looking for suppliers, so, right? So if we are looking for suppliers in our business, supplier diversity is a key angle which we look at. So are the people who are supplying for us, so supplying different raw materials, or even if we look at IT, supply diversity is something which is measured upon. Why supply diversity? Because if the teams that are catering to us are not diverse, then the innovation quotient reduces, right? So let's say I am working with a marketing agency or an ad agency, right? And they are the team there is not diverse, okay, then it is going to compromise on my product, right? So the type, so if you remember, there were a lot of ads that got pulled out because it didn't synchronize with some particular group of people, right? They didn't sync with it, and they raised concerns about it, and it got pulled out. So what is the reason for that? It's because the team that was creating it, that was not diverse, or it didn't get tested by teams which were diverse, or either the development or the testing, or at some point the diversity got missed out. So supply diversity is one key aspect coming up. And now if we are selling our products to somebody, again in RFPs and any way we get measured, diversity is one key aspect which is being checked upon. So they ask, are you diverse? What is the diversity quotient in your company? And also, if you see the annual reports of any company, let's say any company you pick up, the diversity is something that is getting reported, along with some basic hygiene numbers like POSH. So what are the number of POSH cases? Then is it an increasing trend? So in latest, we also have this thing that we need to report the trend to just to see, is it on an increasing trend? Is company doing something about that? Is it under control or not? So from every level, Anu, be it at a supplier level, or if we are selling to somebody, or our customer level, it's like getting measured at all points, and it's very important.
Thank you, Darshana. Very wonderful points. I think this is definitely going to be informative and valuable for all the listeners today. So, at this point, I would also like to take the opportunity to announce about an upcoming workshop. As all our listeners and audience would have seen in this the poster, we are coming up with an inclusion. Cultivating inclusion is the name of the session. It is a joint program by NIPM Kerala chapter along with SHRM India. This is a 4 half-day online session. We are talking about the different aspects of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and there is a certification being given to each of the participants. We request all the participants to connect to the NIPM social media channels, and if you are interested, please register to this program. The program starts on February 8th, February 8, 9, 14, and 15. The program is being conducted, and we have a few seats, so definitely look forward to a lot of participants who are interested to please join. And we also have certain other programs coming up with NIPM, that is a boot camp for B school students. There is a young managers contest being powered by V Guard Industries Limited. NIPM Foundation Day, and a National HR Conclave. So I request all the participants to do connect with the social media channels and stay tuned for more interesting updates. So coming back to the discussion, I think Darshana, you also touched upon some very very important aspects. So now I think we have definitely gathered a lot of insights. I'm sure the HR community listening to us, the business leaders as well, would have really drawn a lot of insights from the different discussions. So now, as a concluding question, and definitely for all your to wrap up your thoughts, I would like to know from each of you what is your individual perspective about DEI, starting with you, Smita.
Yes. So definitely, the individual perspective. So being with this, I've been in this organization for long, and so the values or the culture that is there has got imbibed, or rather that has got into me as well, right? So yes, definitely. As of now, within whatever the surroundings, or rather within the environment or the ecosystem that is there currently, gender diversity is something that definitely we are being focusing on. So I ensure that wherever we try and see, so especially in the different groups that we manage, we try and see as to at least to the maximum possible extent what is it that we can do to ensure that diversity is being met. So that is something which is something easily doable from our end, something which we can actually quantify and see if we can actually bring in a good reasonable change, if I may say. So that is something that I always look personally also in the team. I see as to how is it that you can bring in more diversity within the team, and also during the interaction. That is something which we need to definitely be aware of. There are a lot of inhibitions that we probably have. So in a team or in a group when we are interacting, so what we may think as something which is okay for everybody need not be okay for everybody, right? So that is something that we need to be aware of. A lot of biases that are there. So how are we able to overcome those biases? So those are some certain areas that we as ourselves, we as individuals also need to improve on. So I think it's something evolving. Yes, the organization that I work for has actually given those values, and also I personally have certain values in me which has made me think in those lines, or rather take baby steps on those lines. But yes, I would say it is evolving. It is something which will evolve throughout, right? So that it's in an evolving stage, I would, if I may say.
Thank you, Smita. Yes, very true. It's an evolving stage, and we're all learning. And I think there is a long way to go, but initial baby steps have been taken in many organizations. And I think today's discussion has really been very helpful. We have a question on the chat. What is your views on menstrual leave? I leave it open to any of you to take it up. Vinita, would you like to start?
Yeah, that question actually made me smile a bit because I'm thinking G. Anand, I see the name as. I think it's a he who's asking that question, and that brings curiosity in me as to what is the whole idea of views on menstrual leave, right? So just speaking on what think as a woman, I think it's great because I know the trouble which I go through, and I really want to be at home, relax, sleep, and have some fun during that time. Just keep away from everything. As an employer, and probably as a project manager, or as somebody who is probably responsible for some work completion, would I enjoy it? I really don't know. But I guess it is about the bias, as Smita was just talking about, right? It is also about what is that we are trying to empathize with. And I guess that is probably one of the point which we keep missing all the time in our conversations, right? Empathy. Next time, I would really urge, Anu, what came up to my mind as I saw that question was, I would really love to see a trans woman, man, woman, and probably a trans man, whatever is possible, whoever is possible to be in this conversation, and not just women. right? And I guess it throws an important point for us that diversity do not belong to women alone, or it doesn't belong to women at all. It belongs to all of us as humans, right? I guess menstrual leave for me is an essential point which got brought out. And I guess taking off from a day when you're really sick does not affect productivity in any way. I guess it kind of brings you more and more forward in terms of thinking what exactly that you can contribute further and be more committed to what you're doing. And I guess it's a privilege to be a woman and feel that, yes, I can take an off on when I'm menstruating and when I have a problem, right? Which is again very personal. So that's my view on that. Thank you for the
Thank
question.
you, Vinita. Yeah, thank you, Vinita. Anything would you like to add, Darshana or Smita, on this point or something related?
Nothing much on menstrual leave. I mean, I concur with what Vidita said.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
I
thank you,
also.
thank you. Yeah, I'm just looking for one more question. Okay, meanwhile, I would also like to ask you, Vinita, uh, again, what is your views on, when we say after all this discussion, one, or if you could just mention one or two key points that you would like to touch upon as a coach, and as a learning expert, or as a consultant who has been doing trainings. How would you think that organizations can start with the journey? What are the key steps that they need to start with?
uh, I don't know as a learning expert coach how I can answer that question, but when it comes to DE and I think we are already on this journey, right? I think consciously we are already there. It's about, and I don't think there is a destination to it, right? It will keep changing, it will keep evolving, and all of us process it, receive it, experience it very differently. And I guess as a coach, I come across a lot of people who struggle with identity crisis, a lot of people who come across with challenges physically, emotionally, right? It is not something, and including me, and that includes me too, right? I can tell you something very recently which happened. One of the meetings, very casual meetings, we were trying to do a conclave, and very casual meetings I was sitting through, and then some conversation came up about inclusion, and the person who was sitting next to me just mentioned that don't talk about that in front of her. She will be very fierce about her response. And I just looked at that person and I said, what makes you say that be fierce in the response? It's not about being fierce, it's about us embracing the whole aspect that, like I said, it's beyond moral obligation. So when organizations kind of think it is a moral obligation, I guess that is where the step goes a little vary, right? Then it becomes about certifications, about a lot of other things which are also important, I'm not denying that fact, but it needs to go beyond a moral obligation and start becoming more very personalized and a hygiene level, I guess. uh, and like I started this conversation in the beginning, we probably need to somewhere move away from talking the importance of DEI. Rather, we need to really talk about what can I do? How can I help? That's the question we need to ask, right? The importance of DEI is gone. It's past. I guess we got to move forward as human race and just move forward. Some people may not belong there, but that's fine, right? We just need to move forward. And I guess that includes us, all of us in this panel, whoever is listening to us, whoever is not listening to us, it doesn't matter, child, whoever, right? But I guess it all starts at home. That's what I would always say, Anu, and I would leave with that point. Everything regarding a diversity, equity, inclusion starts at home. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you brought out very, very, serious. I think it's like, yeah, each of us can, something like a prick on all of us. It is a very important question. And I think the mindset and what can I do to embrace DEI? What are the steps that I can take? How can I change myself and my outlook? I think it starts with that. Wonderful, Vinita. Thank you. So, we also have a couple of questions which have been shared. Um, the first question by Zishan. How do you ensure that diverse voices are heard and valued at all levels of your organization, including leadership positions? So, Darshana, I would like you to start with that.
Yeah, see, I see. Okay, I will just give one instance here. So we were conducting something. You might have heard something called focus group discussions, right? So we did a session for women. Okay, so I was there with a male colleague of mine, and I was asking some questions, and I was asking what is worrying them, what are their concerns, but there was not a single voice that came up there. So there are two ways to construe it. Either we can consider silence means there is no problem, everything is going on fine, or we can also feel that silence means they are not feeling safe, or they are not trusting, or what. I mean, they are not opening up. So that can be the other thing. So then I thought maybe because the male colleague is there, they are not opening up. So I asked the male colleague to step up. Then I again said, let's talk. Let's talk. It's important that we need to understand what is there in your mind. If everything is good, please say that. If something is bad, please say that as well. So again, it's silence. So then I said, do you want me to sit like a doctor, where I will sit one of you, one by one, all 30 of you can come and share your issues? So they just smiled and they said, no, we wouldn't like that. Then I was just thinking what to do next. Then something stuck, and I quickly took a lot of papers, sticky notes, and everything I had. I said, whatever you want, you write in this. I don't want to know who wrote what. I don't know your name. I'm just seeing some smiling faces. I don't know anything about you. You just write. And then you will be surprised. People were like literally asking for additional sheets. So then I was thinking, there are so many concerns. Then why didn't they open up? So I would just say, Anu and my co-panelists, that it's also important that we give that option to people, that you can be anonymous, you need not reveal your identity, but you can still share your views. So that's where companies have come up with whistleblower mechanism and everything, which is a more formal process. But I think as HR, as well as there are many business managers, please feel free to tell your teams it's okay. Your feedback is very important. We want to hear from each one of you. But if you're not comfortable, you can use any mechanism, but just let us know. This is what it is. So this is my two bits about this particular question.
If I may just add a point there, if I
Yeah,
may,
Sure.
she brought out something in me which I really want to share. So I used to always wonder, as a posh committee head is usually a woman, right?
yeah.
I used to think, where would this woman go and talk about what she is feeling, right? I used to hold that position, and I used to feel, oh my god, this is a little too much. And how, where do I actually go and talk about it, or where do I go and talk about when I feel harassed, right? Is there an option? But I guess that's a great point what she brought out. Anonymity, I guess it's very, very
Yes.
important as an option to be given, right? You don't, I mean, not everyone will come forward talking about what they really feel. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you for that,
Thank
Vinita.
you. Yes. So, we also have one more question raised by Amrita. Can you discuss any challenges or obstacles your organization has faced in implementing DEIB initiatives, and how have you addressed them? Uh, can we ask you, Smita, would you like to take up this question?
Yes. So,
Smita?
as far as
Yeah,
the
over
DEI
to you.
initiatives are concerned, I was mentioning. Yes, are you able to hear me? Are you able to
Yes,
hear
yes.
me?
Yes, yes, you're audible. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So I will just go back to the same point on PWD that I was mentioning, right? So when we decided that yes, we definitely need to, ensure that this particular group is also being, considered, and then we need to give equal importance to them in our workforce. Initially, yes, there were a lot of challenges in getting that confirmation from our business leaders also as to how can you actually make them work, because the kind of industry that we are in, right? So wherein we need to speak to our customers, we need to understand as to how, what are the requirements that the customer has, and a lot of interactions has to happen, right? And also many a times the customers are from various other geographies. So that was the reason I was mentioning that we used to focus mainly on the culture aspect also, because many of our customers are from different geographies, and we need to see as to what is right in their parlance, in their terms, in their region, and what is not right, and how should we actually communicate, and all those aspects, right? So communication is a very important aspect as far as we are concerned. So definitely, in trying and ensuring that our leaders are in agreement with, they understand the need, and they also embrace this with 100% sincerity, right? So that is something which is very important. Until and unless the particular business groups are ready to, uh, you know, uh, understand that there is a need for it, and also open to take these things forward, we'll not be able to just like that push any initiative. So as an organization, we can probably say that, okay, we want to do this and we will do this, but then, for it to be effective, we also need to see as to what is the outcome, and how is it evolving, and how is it actually helping the people who have been involved. So that is what I would say as an initial, initially in taking up initiatives like this. It has been a challenge to convince our leaders, make them understand the need for it, make them understand that this particular group, this diverse workforce, will also be able to contribute in an equally better manner, or even in a much more better manner than any other workforce, any other associate in the workforce, right? So that is something where we felt a kind of challenge initially. And we also have a program for called Rebegin for people who have a very long break in their career. So especially the women associates for coming back after their long breaks and all that. Usually in our company, we don't entertain people having more than 3 years break in their career. So this is something which we know there also we have found that people do have that inhibitions. Okay, somebody has been not working for a long duration, 8 years, 7 years. So how is the person going to come back and contribute from day one? So those are some of the inhibitions that we have, and then we probably need to address that in the right manner, give that confidence to the leaders, and with examples we should will be able to see as to what is the value that these people have been able to bring in. So yes, definitely, when we come up with any initiatives or any activity, or rather especially an initiative towards any of these aspects, we will definitely have those initial challenges. But then how are we able to address that in the right manner, and how are we able to give them those confidence, and through implementing this, we'll be able to give them that right answer. Yes, this has not been a bad choice, this has never been a bad choice. Yeah.
Thank you, Smita. Some very, very strong inputs for the listeners today. I think the audience is definitely going to appreciate all the different stories and the challenges that you mentioned and the ways you have overcome it. Uh, so, thank you, everyone. I think it's been a very, very interesting discussion, a lot of learning for our participants. Maybe I would just like to go around with all of you uh, for the participants who are listening today, and as for the definitely the young and the senior HR professionals as well as business leaders. Is there any one message that you would like to give to them who are listening to us today? Starting with you, Vinita.
No, you don't want to ask me that question at all. But yeah, one thing which always I think as HR fraternity, probably we need to, or we have an area to improve or look forward to probably do it little differently is very often we are stuck between the policies, the processes, the need of the management, my personal relationship with these kind of topics, etc. Uh, I think with a genuine and intentional effort, right? Genuine and a very intentional effort. You don't need to tag yourself as an HR person, but I guess if you can really look at it as a part of the fraternity and just bring that point of DEI is something which I belong to, and DEI is something which is beneficial not just for the organization but also for me as a person and my family and my community around. So it goes beyond the realm of HR, goes beyond the realm of your organization policy. So that's what I will leave with. So being very genuine and very intentional about it in every conversation you take. Yeah.
Wonderful point. Thank you, Vinita. Over to you, Darshana.
Yeah, yeah. I will just say one word. DI is human, right? Finally, it is all about being human. Okay, so at some point we have lost it. So the recent incident of where the Goa incident where a lady killed her child. It's very painful to even talk about that. So at some point we lost that human thing within us, right? So the ego got over us, and we lost the human aspect. So DI is all about being human. And even for companies, the only message is this: we, being a human, we come as a package. We are a package. I'm there, my family is there. So it's not like an employee comes, then the person becomes asset of the company, right? So we all are human, so we carry human feelings, emotions, and that's what the essence of DI is. So how can you how can you include that in everything that you do? How can you be fair to the emotions of people? How can you be fair to the views that people bring in? So that's what finally DI is about. So it's just tickling that human part of you. That's it.
Thank you. Yes, being human, I think that's a very strong message. Now, over to you, Smita. What would you
Yes,
like to give as a final message?
completely agree with the comments by both Vinita and Darshana. Yes, it's definitely about, I would say it is diversity is more about, or DEI is more about us as individuals. So we need to see as to how we are able to embrace this in our lives, in our family, in our, surroundings, and only then will we be able to, understand that, or rather understand the value of it and embrace it in our workplace also. So it has to start from us. It has to start from the way we behave, we think, and we do our activities. So that's all about it.
Thank you, Smita. So, with that, we conclude this panel discussion. I'm sure all the listeners or the audience today has really would have had a lot of takeaways, and it's been a very very interesting session. Thank you very much for the wonderful discussions and the points that all of you have brought about. This is a very I know it's a topic. It's something which has been there, as you all said. It's a part of our life, and we need to stop discussing about what is DEI and probably start doing. Discussing about what are the steps being taken, what are the best practices in the industry today, and I'm sure a lot of points which you all have shared are going to add value to the listeners. So as we conclude, yes, it's not just a checkbox. DEI is no longer a checkbox, but it's a commitment to shaping a workplace that is resilient, innovative, and future ready. And the journey towards making a workplace more inclusive, it starts with the understanding, the education, and actionable steps. So I urge all the participants who are listening to us, the audience today, to start, taking the initial steps. I'm sure a lot of insights were shared today, and we also like to inform that NIPM Kerala chapter, along with SHRM India, is coming up with a workshop on DEI called Cultivating Inclusion. It's a 4 day experiential learning, of a 4 day online program, which is it's a complete practitioner workshop, and we look forward to a lot of you in this program. So let's build a future which is diverse, where diversity is celebrated, equity is access. So together we can create a workplace that inspires, empowers, and thrives. So with that, I on the different NIPM channels. Thank you very much to the team that has helped me bring this program to all of you. We have very key members here on the panel with us: Mr. Jitin, Mr. Ajesh, Anish, Kshama, and of course, a very big team, the committee, the managing committee of NIPM Kerala chapter. I take this opportunity to thank our chairman, Johnson Matthew, the secretary, Ms. Kshama, and the whole office bearers committee. I'm not taking names here, but definitely the entire team has been very supportive and has actually set us on this mission of helping the HR professionals demystify this topic and get started or make their workplaces more inclusive, as all of you have mentioned. So thank you very much for the opportunity to once again to all of you sparing your valuable time with us. Wonderful to have all of you on this panel. Thank you, and thank you to all the audience.
Thank you.
Good night to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.